the question is, okay, I would like to start speaking. Well, let me tell you what, there's only 5 topics that are being requested right now. If you are presenting in something else besides those 5 topics, guess what? It's going to be very difficult for you to actually get hired. So that's the first thing that you need to take into consideration. So let me just share with you a couple of things. Right now, there's one thing that you need to understand. There's one word, well, that's actually 2 words, but there's 2 words that are going to become incredibly important. If you're a speaker, if you're a trainer, if you're an author, if you're an expert, if you're a business that requires education, you're going to have to really live with these 2 words, ed tech. Now you're going to say, what the hell is ed tech? So I have a short little video which is going to explain what ed tech is all about. Have a look.
The World Economic Forum has predicted that by 2022, over half of employees will need to upgrade or learn new skills to do their jobs, and that was before the pandemic. Now, as unemployment levels hit record highs, economists are predicting that many of those jobs may not return at all.
We've got this mass remobilization of the workforce upon us, and COVID just took that, to a whole nother level.
That's a problem 36-year-old David Blake wants to address with LearnIn, a service for employees to learn or upgrade their skills, which he says is a better alternative to job cuts.
Historically, it was sort of this lay people off, fire people, furlough people, or retain people. And we're saying there's a better way. There's a third option, which is even in scenarios where you're going to have to meet payroll reductions, do so by, instead of laying people off, by putting people into low-cost, high-quality training programs.
David launched the business with his co-founders and $3.5 million in funding in mid-April, just as US unemployment claims soared. LearnIn works with employers to figure out the skills they need to future-proof their business and the investment it will take. Employees are then invited to complete relevant short training courses at either full, reduced, or no pay, with the guarantee of returning to work at the end. That's not only beneficial for employees, who may otherwise be laid off, says David. It's also more cost-effective for employers, who can save on rehiring when the economy recovers.
A lot of companies also, are seeing increased demand and know that this is more about proactive upskilling of the workforce, and they're actually paying people to learn because they know that if they aren't upskilling in their people now, they're going to be caught, flat-footed behind 6 months from now, 12 months from now.
And while career breaks or learning sabbaticals are not new, David says the pandemic has shown that work and education no longer need to be mutually exclusive.
At every other point, there's a tension between productivity and learning. That any time you're spending over here learning is not time you're spending on productivity. What we've seen is layoffs are extremely costly and often, ROI negative. And so companies that can be smart about using the time to upskill in their people, on the right time horizon, it's always going to be a win. And the question is just about, can the company navigate that time horizon?
Very interesting. It tells it exactly as it is, because if you weren't thinking like that and you weren't considering where the business needs to be or where your business needs to be, or even if you're an employee and you're thinking, my job's not safe, if you weren't paying attention to what happened on that video in the last 4 minutes or so, then you're going to go back and get some rude surprises.
Now you saw the what EdTech is going to be. So, of course, right now, the entire tech world is actually trying to figure out how we can change. Now, that gives us 2 cues. Cue number 1 is that we're not going to go back to how we were doing things. Right now, for example, companies are realizing possibly they have a budget of $500,000 to do a big event, but possibly it's going to cost them only $50,000 to do a virtual event. A virtual event using virtual training experiences like doing now. Most of the companies which are doing virtual training experiences or really virtual global speaking experiences are figuring out how to do it, and the equipment is extremely expensive. How much are we paying for our equipment? What different things are we doing? That's exactly what we are going to be learning throughout the whole process. Now, just imagine that you actually go on a company, you show them the two elements. You have the broadcasting element, and you have the results mechanism in your business, and it is set correctly done. Then you can really start doing leadership marketing. Let me just show you something very interesting. These are just coming up figures. I mean, these are just out of the oven. And this is basically what companies are actually right now spending on training. So they actually have budgets from $1 to $500 to spend on each individual. So that's actually the biggest growing statistic there. Now, why is that important to know? Because of course, if you know how to price it and you present the idea correctly, people are happy to pay $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for you to come and speak for 1 hour virtually to their organization. And this is exactly what we have been doing. I mean, right now, we know how to approach them, and we have both sides of the scale so that you can see how that works. Now, the last aspect that I want to share with you before I actually go into the nitty-gritty on how to create these is the fact that right now we have been running for 93 minutes. How many pieces of content do you think that we can actually take out and chop out of these 90 minutes that we have created? I mean, if you see, it's just crazy. Plus, on top, also we can do a podcast out of this if we would like it. So, Dave, would it be okay if I actually take them to my screen and share them exactly how this is done?
Be my guest.
Okay, so now we are here, and you're seeing here my browser in my desktop, and I'm going to show you specifically what we have done to position ourselves as top virtual global speakers, and how you can do the exact same thing. Mind you, this strategy is going to take a little bit of time to implement. However, we will guide you step by step in how to get it done. We believe very strongly that the way to be successful in the virtual world is not about doing webinars, or is not about doing lives, or is not about doing what 99.9% of the speakers are doing, but by actually having a specific methodology. Now, once again, if we're going to be transmitting from our garage or your house or wherever you are, you don't have an audience. So if you don't have an audience, you have to be thinking like a broadcaster. You should not be thinking like a speaker. At this point in time, you need to be a broadcaster. That's absolutely critical. So here's what you need to understand. First of all, I want you to go into the toiletpaperdiaries.com. If you want already to go there and keep the browser open, if that's not possible, then don't worry about it. You can do it later. Make sure to go to the Toilet Paper Diaries. Make sure to enter your name and email so that you will have access to the membership site. We have it there. But this is not what I wanted just to share here with you. First of all, I want to let you know that the Toilet Paper Diaries has the exact same format as most of the TV shows. We do have a schedule. We were coming live for 50 days in non-stop on the 12 o'clock in the afternoon Central Standard Time in the United States and 9 o'clock in the evening Dubai time. So what happens is, when you do that, you train your audience to come and see you. I mean, we started having on the first episode something like about one person, two people watching the show. Right now, every time that we actually go live, 1,500 plus people come and watch the show. Now, can you think that that is powerful? Absolutely. What did we do? We basically had a schedule. We had a show. That's the important thing. So if you are doing sporadic shows once in a while and doing this and that and the other, and you don't tell the people when you're doing these things, your strategy gets completely lost in all the noise. So now the important thing is this content, the full hour of content, became also a podcast. So as you can see here, we have also, we have the popular episodes. We have them here. Because of course, I mean, we want people to see what we have done. And we have here also access to our podcast. We are getting, you can subscribe yourself to the podcast, which is something that I recommend you to do either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and whatever it is. And every time that we do a show, it actually goes there, and then we are creating that piece of content. Now, that piece of content, if you actually noticed, every piece of content is actually broken into 2, 3, 4 different segments, and that goes into YouTube, and that goes into LinkedIn, and that goes into several things. So in 1 hour per day, we actually create 6, 7, 8 different pieces of content. And also we create a podcast, and also we create a show that people can also get to see. Now, the other thing that we have done, and this has to do with the 3 steps that you need to understand. So once again, step number 1 is power positioning. Second, you need to have a results mechanism. And third, you need to have a leadership marketing strategy. Those are the 3 steps. Once again, power positioning, results mechanism, and leadership marketing. So let's talk about leader positioning. Obviously, what we want to do is we want to do interviews in the exact same way as everyone else is doing, because of course we want to make sure that we connect with people which are influencers. Now, we took a different approach, and instead of actually doing interviews, what we did, we started doing videos. We started asking people for videos, which of course works like a charm. So here what happens is you can see all these experts, and we had a total of 109 experts. We don't put them all here because of course it will be crazy just to put them all there, but we are putting here the most known. And then what happens is that we are already establishing tremendous credibility. Even if they do not know us in the internet, we are having complete credibility. Now here we have an explanation and a blurb of where we are, and at the very bottom we have something that they recommended me. I had never used it, but I mean I don't think it will ever harm, is to basically have a donate button, because of course we're not making money for this. So absolutely, if you want to buy us a drink, send us a drink, and we will be very happy to mention that you bought us a drink on the Toilet Paper Diaries. So basically, as you can see, this whole page has been created in the power positioning strategy. Now, we needed a results mechanism. Now, what is the results mechanism? Well, the results mechanism is something that you're going to be learning a little bit later on these specific trainings that we're going to be doing in Fast Forward, so that you will be able to position yourself with a speaker media kit. So now imagine the power of this. We can just basically contact anybody and say we have the media solution, the media angle to come and so that they can see that we're very serious. If they see this body of work that was created in a short period of time, and then they see a media kit which is specifically for global speaking and virtual speaking, people are going to say, well, you know, these guys are completely serious about what they're doing. And then, of course, comes the next level, which is going to be leadership marketing, which is what we are doing at this very moment. And leadership marketing is basically showing that you are the leader, showing that you are the person that knows. And that's the element of Fast Forward. Now, this strategy might sound a little bit complex, but in reality, it's very easy to replicate. And right now, what Dave and I are going to be doing is we're going to be taking you through all that process on these trainings that we're going to be doing, and some coachings, and we're also going to be doing some small group sessions and a mastermind and all these things. So that's why it's so critical that you keep on coming every single Thursday. Make sure that you make a note to come to these trainings, because we're going to be guiding you through the process, and we will help you also in creating your speaker media kit, and we will help you we will teach you exactly how all these things work. So this is exactly what the Fast Forward strategy is. First of all, power positioning. Second, result mechanisms. And third, leadership marketing. This is just the beginning. Remember to be here every Thursday, because we are going to be going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Wonderful. Excellent, Esther. Thanks for sharing that with us. And as you can see, a little behind the scenes of what it takes to create this online TV show. And it's also part of this marketing plan. And it's something that I know most people won't consider, because the angle that most people did when it went into lockdown is, I'm going to sell all my stuff super cheap, as much as I can, because I don't know where it's going and I know people will be online. And they found that they sold it all super cheap, or they tried to, people didn't buy it, and then how do you put your prices up again after that? They hadn't created a relationship, even the sales funnel that you've got to create with people, they hadn't done that, they just panicked and put it out there. One of the things you'll have noticed that Ernesto and I spend a lot of time just on value, even for this show, the very first Fast Forward show, we've been going for almost 2 hours of solid content to give you an opportunity to position yourself above the competition in the food chain. And with that, I think it makes a huge difference. And you'll see that as you go on with us on this journey over the next couple of weeks and months, just the difference it makes for you in your own individual industry as well. One thing I will say, and it's probably the biggest lesson you got from what we spoke about today, is all about being an early adopter. We started the toilet paper diaries straight away. We got in there before anybody else could work it out, even before the big boys had realized that the game had changed. Well, now everyone's coming out of their shell, coming out of the pandemic, coming out of the lockdown. They got all going back to work. So if you hadn't put together some kind of system or stepped up with EdTech before, you really have no time but to start straight away. So make sure you connect with myself and Ernesto and speak on stage and so on, because it's going to be a very bumpy ride, and the early adopters will still win the game. Everybody else, as you've seen, will be sitting there wondering, where did my job go? And we want to make sure that we fast forward you to a brand new level that you can be with us.